Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Never End Podcast, the podcast open to everyone, especially our special guest. My name is Luke. I am your host of the Never End Podcast, and with me, as always, is Mr. Andy. Say hello, Mr. Andy.
Hello, Mr. Andy. Hello, Luke. And hello to our guest today, Lord Crewe, hot off his tour of Japan, wrestling in the All Japan Champions Carnival. What's going on, man?
You know, man, just getting back to life in the States, you know. I got pretty used to it over there. It was pretty sweet. Now it makes me realize how bad some things here suck. So
well, I mean, today we are truly an international podcast as usual. You know, you're jet setting all over the world. Luke's in Australia. I'm in Cincinnati, and it's good to have you, man. It's been a long time since I talked to you in this kind of format.
A lot has happened since we've talked in a podcast format. That's certain.
It's been wild, dude. You've appeared on places like AEW. You've appeared on many other promotions. And yes, you've been recently in Japan. So I guess let's start out by just like letting folks know tell us a little bit about how the Japan tour thing came together and what that was like as a dream come true for you and all that.
Yeah. So it was something that got brought up to me a couple of years ago. Excuse me. So Dave Marquez, longtime promoter of championship wrestling from Hollywood, Derby City Wrestling. And then he was running some shows in Atlanta, Georgia a couple years ago. And that's where that's where our business relationship began. I went down and did the Atlanta tapings, and we hit it off. Dave seemed to really enjoy my work. And for a good while there, he was bringing me out to California on a monthly basis for the Hollywood tapings. I guess somebody from All Japan reached out to him and asked if he had any guys that he thought would be interesting for their product. And he put my name in the hat. Because I remember this would have been probably around October of 2021. He first asked me if I had interest in going over to All Japan. And I was like, yeah, dude, like that's been my dream from the jump. So, count me in. But that was still at a time where it was difficult to get into Japan. Because they were one of the last countries to really loosen up letting tourists back in, or, it was harder to get visas and stuff. So it kind of fell dead in the water. I didn't hear anything about it for a little while. And then a couple months ago, I guess this was like early February, he told me that the conversation was kind of restarting and asked if I was still, interested. And, I told him absolutely. Yeah. Like, you just let me know if they, what they need from me, if they need anything or whatever. Then I woke up the morning of Valentine's Day. My alarm went off at about 7:30 in the morning, and I had a text from Dave that was the list of all the dates. Here's your travel dates. Here's what they're going to pay you. That's all this, a lot of details that if it hadn't been a conversation, he wouldn't have all this just readily available. So I'm like, holy shit, this is real. Like, this is happening. And I like audibly reacted to, I was like, holy shit. Like, and I like got really emotional for a second. My girlfriend rolls over in bed and looks at me and she goes, this better be good. Like, for me to be yelling that early in the morning. And I'm like, I'm fucking going to Japan. And she's like, okay, that's, I'll let this one slide.
I'm allowing it.
Yeah. But like, just that. But even then though, like I got really excited, but then I also had to bring myself back for a second to go, wrestling has a way of, giveth and taketh away. So like, I didn't want to try to get too excited until I had some like physical paperwork or, something there to like, okay, this is like for sure. And to be completely fair, I didn't even feel completely real until I stepped off the plane in Tokyo. I was like, okay, I'm here now. We're good. Like the plane didn't crash. Like they didn't change their mind last second. Like once I had I felt a little bit better once I signed the agreement, but then once I actually got off the plane in Japan, I'm like, all right, we're cool. We're here now.
Well, for someone like you, who I think I first saw you in like 2017, and it was clear to me from that moment that you were different. You were somebody that stuck out. And so like, as a fan watching you, as somebody that I've known you a long time now at this point, it's like, I've been sitting here being like, well, how patient do we have to be for this guy? Come on, And so I imagine, the fact that you've had to learn patience and had so many disappointments over the years that, it's so hard to just accept something big like this coming your way. Right.
Yeah. And I don't think I've really said this publicly, but pull the curtain back a little bit. I'm 35 years old. I just turned 35 in January. And I don't know what it was about that birthday, but it put me in a bit of a weird headspace where I kind of started thinking to myself, like, is this going to happen for me? Like, where is my place in all of this? Like, is it time to maybe start focusing more on other aspects of my life, maybe dial this back a little bit, not saying completely quit, but maybe stop throwing all my energy to it. I was having these thoughts in about January, and, I had a lot of people in my circle telling me like, man, just, don't give up, like there's a reason why you keep ending up in these places that you're ending up. And it's just a matter of time before somebody pulls the trigger. And like a month later, I get the message to go to Japan. And then like, it all kind of was like, okay, it was worth sticking around. I'm not done yet. So, but yeah, I mean, that thought was definitely there because, I've been told no a lot of times. I've done, I did the New Japan camps years ago and was hoping to, get something there, but that didn't quite pan out. I've had some appearances at AEW, NWA, I've taken swings places and then nothing just ever seems to really catch and catch traction. But I've always kind of said that, like, if I got to go do a tour of Japan, if wrestling got taken from me the next day, then I would feel like I accomplished something. So like, now that I've had that, I feel pretty good. And then everything else now is just bonus. So.
That's tremendous. So something interesting too about your like wrestling style is that, we noticed it right away when we saw you years ago is that you would fit right in Japan. What was it like kind of meshing with the guys over there? And, was there a lot of adjustments? Was it something that just kind of felt natural? I mean, how did that all go?
I mean, I don't feel like I had to change my style one bit over there. You know what I mean? I think the stuff that I do fit right in. I've always just been a very smash mouth, like heavy hitter type wrestler. And then, hit the big, powerful moves and all that. And I think that's exactly what the fans over there like to see. And it seemed to be well received by the fans over there. So I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? And I feel like wrestling is sort of universal in a way. You know what I mean? Like we change things up a little bit depending on where you're at. But if you know how to dance, you know how to dance. It doesn't matter if you're dancing salsa or tango or whatever. There's a little bit of different styles, but it's all the same shit when you boil it all down. So
Luke watched all your matches. I watched all your matches too, obviously, as they were happening. I tried to watch as many of them as live as I could, and it kind of worked out pretty well where I got to watch a lot of them live that were available live. But Luke, what did you notice about some of the stuff that you saw?
Well, firstly, I just want to berate Mr. Guy because, yes, I got to see the matches thanks to him, but he cropped out the fucking music, so I still don't know what your music is. So,
oh, it's Gojira, man.
All
right.
I come out to Stranded by the French metal band Gojira. Yeah, so.
Nice. All right, so he chopped off the pageantry of wrestling for me. So thanks for that. But
well, to be fair, All Japan cuts in on a lot of their on a lot of their video on demands because of like royalty stuff. So you can't even really, even if you went and watch it, it still would be missing. So
generic Makabe music coming in.
Right.
But it was pretty much like I would see from GIFs from I don't know much about All Japan, but I see GIFs from old matches all the time on YouTube. Twitter. Big guys kind of splatting each other, and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I don't know what to expect. And I love seeing dudes suplex other dudes around, especially when like they're pretty big dudes. So it doesn't like they're both heavy for each other. It just looks amazing. So I know something about what I'm watching, and I won't mention it now. When I'm watching these, and I'm seeing you pull out some powerful moves, so I'm like, okay, that's pretty badass to be able to pull some of these things off.
Considering,
yeah. So I guess I want to mention that I only knew to watch for it because Andy told me a few things, and watching them, pretty much in a row. Yeah, you can you can tell, but also just the way you kind of power through it, hit the moves, and just manage to go for it. Like it never seemed to hold you back too much. You always it was impressive. I get a cold and I'm a little baby for like a week, so I stub my toe and I'm crying.
So, Crewe, tell us about your first match in All Japan and it was an emotional match for like 1,000 reasons, right?
For literally like 1,000 reasons. So, so one little precursor that I want to put on this is that for probably about 3 years or so, I had a picture of Cork and Hall as the lock screen on my cell phone. And what that was is that served as a constant reminder of the goal, where I want to be, and the days that I would like want to be lazy and not go to the gym. I would see that and be like, hey, do you ever want to get there when they get your ass in the gym? You know what I mean? So it was a reminder to, stay on the path to get to the destination. And that was, to me, that was the ultimate destination. Just, anybody who knows anything about Japanese wrestling knows that Korakuen is a legendary venue. There's been some of the biggest names in the history of the sport have been in that building. And then, so for me, the day that I arrived there, when you get to Korakuen, you go in through like a parking garage and you take an elevator up. So we got off the elevator at the locker room floor, but then I was like, hey, where's the room at? So my one buddy was like, go upstairs another floor, and or he's like, actually, I'm heading up there, just follow me. So I followed him up there, and when I walked out and I saw the image that was the background on my phone for 3 years, the image that I'd seen in countless videos and photos, and I was there now. You know what I mean? And and all of that hard work that I'd put in for, going on 10 years, it all felt validated. And it was like, I'm here now. You know what I mean? Then it really, really felt real. And to see, to just look up in the stands and be able to see, Brody and Abdullah fighting, just in my brain, I could see it, fighting through those orange seats. And then I looked over at because the ring wasn't assembled yet. So there's that big wooden floor. There's actually a spot in the center of Korakuen Hall where the floor is a much lighter shade than the rest of the floor where the ring sits, because of how many just dirty feet have walked around that ring so many times over the years. And the spot where the ring sits is just spotless.
Wow.
So to just really be in there and to see all of that. And it was just such a cool feeling. And then, and for that to be the place that I got to have my debut over there was another just crazy piece to the whole thing. So, we came out and did the whole ceremony with the sashes and everything to kick off the carnival. And once I got in the ring and I really looked around and saw the fans and, felt the energy of the room full of fans, and it hit me. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, I'm here. This is it. So then came out, had my match. I wrestled a fella by the name of Ryuki Honda. I whooped his ass. So I picked up the win, but on the finish, and I use the Orange Crush as a finish, which was Kenta Kobashi's move. And I just told myself, like, I'm not going to go to All Japan and use Kobashi's finisher. Like, it just doesn't feel right. And B, like, I just didn't want their fans to look at me and fucking bark, you know? So, like, and then, I talked to Wildcat Chris Harris, who's a good friend of mine, and he's been one of my biggest mentors since I started wrestling. And I said, hey, Cat, you care if I use the catatonic as a finish over there? He's like, no, man, that'd be awesome, you know, like, but just don't let anybody, you make sure no one kicks out of it, you know? So I was like, all right.
That's tremendous. I love that.
So I hit the catatonic, and as I come down, for those of you that don't know what the catatonic is, it's a spin out Uranagi. So as I laid out to hit the Uranagi, my shoulder landed and it kicked back really fast, and I felt a really bad popping feeling in my shoulder, and it was followed by a lot of really sharp pain just very fast. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I thought I didn't know what happened. I just knew it wasn't good. I thought I dislocated my shoulder, and I'm like, fuck. I finally get here. I'm finally doing the thing that I had worked so hard for, and now I'm fucked. You know, and I'm having all of these thoughts, and I'm not even out of the ring yet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm standing up and getting my hand raised on my debut in Korakuen, and all I can think about is shit. Like, what's next? Like, am I gonna have to go home? Like, do I have to, you know, how severe is this? I'm just freaking panicking, right? So I get to the back, and they have a guy on staff that's like a sports medicine, or like a, you know, like a football team would have the, like, why can't I think of what the hell those are, like an athletic trainer, yeah. So they have like a guy there that is sort of that role, you know, he'll tape you up and get, you know, do massage work and stuff. So I go and I see him, and he puts a nice big ice pack on me, and, you know, wraps it up and tells me, you know, 20 on, 20 off. And like, we have the next day off. So he's like, you know, make sure you're icing this tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. But I was able to move it, which was like, to me, that was a good sign. And he did a lot of tests, like, you know, hey, press against my force here. But when I would go this way, it would hurt. So I was like, ugh, it's not good. But he said that it's not dislocated, because if it was dislocated, I wouldn't be able to move it the way that I can. Because, I mean, even still now, I have full range of motion. Nothing in it hurts.
All right. And I just remember seeing
fast forward
duplexes, which means your arms have to go up that way as well. Like,
yeah.
ouch.
So my next match was against Anzai, which is their current Triple Crown champion. And that's a match that I was really looking forward to. But if you notice, for those of you who have watched the carnival and saw the matches, there's a couple days where I do have some tape kind of on the inside of my bicep here, because that's where I was having a lot of bruising, was like right through here and swelling. So I went in, and, you know, he checked me out before the next match. And I mean, I was in a little bit of pain, but not anything like crazy. But if I moved too quickly certain ways, or like, you know, really put some force behind it, it was kind of tender. So this was going to be the test. So during the match, Anzai hit me with a double underhook, like a little butterfly suplex. That hurt so fucking bad. I was like, because that, like, you know, that's pulling you by that, you know. So like, once my arm came up, I was like, oh, son of a bitch. And then like, but as things progressed, as the tour continued on, it started feeling better and better. And in my brain, if the only way I wasn't wrestling is if I physically could not. Like if I could get in there and power through it, and I didn't care how much it hurt, but if I could get in and I could have matches that, you know, looked good and I was still able to do things at a decently high level. And it really burns my ass that I wasn't able to go 100% throughout the entire thing. But I like to think that given the circumstances that I still did okay.
Okay.
But
You're great.
But as it went on though, like things got better and I felt more stable and able to do more stuff. So for a couple matches there though, I was a little iffy. I'm like, man, this sucks. And then toward the end of the tour, they took me to it's like a sports medicine doctor or like an actual office, and I was seen and they did an ultrasound. And I was informed that I had a tear in my pec. I'm going to assume that it wasn't like, because to me, the tendon still seems intact. Like, I don't know when this will air, but yesterday morning I went and had an MRI done. And I'm basically now just waiting to go see my doctor here to like look over that. And she's going to look at exactly what's going on, but I've pretty much already been told that like surgery is kind of optional. So I'm an idiot. I'm a pro wrestler. I'm not going to get fucking surgery if I don't need it. So I'm going to power through it. But honestly though, like all jokes aside, as the days go on, it's feeling stronger. Like I'm back in the gym. I still can't like bench press and shit, but I can do other stuff. So I've been doing some some rehab work at home, you know, with like a light exercise band, just trying to get it used to going in certain directions, and it's feeling better as the days go on. So,
well, one positive that came out of that, and one thing that I have always enjoyed about your wrestling is that you know, are able to adjust. And there was kind of like, this was almost kismet a little bit in a way, because there was a move of yours that the people backstage enjoyed maybe more than the catatonic, right? So they you know, you switch your finisher basically, right?
Yeah, so I hit a pretty sweet tornado kick. I'm not trying to like, you know, talk myself up or anything.
No, it's pretty sweet.
It looks pretty sweet most of the times I do it. So that became the new finisher for the remainder of the tour. And they seemed to really, the office thought it was an impressive kick. So they said, yeah, we like that. Go with that. So, which I was super stoked that they were cool with that, because like, there's no way, like with the way that my pec was at like for those first few matches back, which I actually did end up hitting the catatonic one more time after that on a really, really small guy. So it was fine. But if I would have had to try to do that on somebody bigger, man, like it would have been no bueno. I probably would have hurt it worse if I would have kept trying to do it. So I'm glad that we were able to find a happy alternative. But shit, I wish I would have known that from the jump, and I would have just used it from, you know, I wouldn't be dealing with what I'm dealing with.
That's true. That's true. Well, okay, so tell us like all about the fans. Because I know you had some fun interaction with the fans, and like I know from watching it on day one, maybe you had a couple people, Lord Crewe, maybe a couple, but then by the end of the tournament, you had many folks, Lord Crewe, you know.
Yeah, you'll hear them like, yeah. So, so cool. When I'm kind of like an observant dude, and I always try to like I always try to take that moment when I first step through the curtain to really take a look around and just kind of, you know, get a feel for the room and, you know, like just take in that energy. Well, as I was walking to the ring on the first day, you know, when we were doing the opening ceremony or whatever, I could kind of hear some people like, I could see people pointing and saying stuff as I was walking past. So like they were intrigued at minimum. No, they were at minimum. They were intrigued. They were like, who's this guy? What's he bringing to the table? Like they were, it seemed they were at least excited to see what I had. So, I feel like too, just because I look so wildly different than most of the people over there, that in and of itself was like, oh, this guy looks like a fucking maniac. Like, what is, because though, I mean, in a lot,
I'm gonna cross the street away from this man.
Well, no, I mean, even like when I was walking the streets and stuff, just like by myself, I would notice sometimes people would like almost kind of like side eye me as like to keep an eye on me as they were walking past me, like, but I mean, I'm a head and shoulders taller than most of the people over there. Like, when I would be on the train and stuff, it was funny because I would look down through the train car and all I would see is the top of heads. And like, and then like, a lot of like, no one over there really has facial hair like I do. Like if they have it, it's very close kept, or it might just be like a little bit, but very few people really have like long, crazy beards. Tattoos are still a little taboo over there, so you don't really see them nearly as much as you do here in the States. So like me being covered the way I am, like I was just, people would look at me and just be fucking mind blown. Like who let this guy out of the dungeon to like,
I was gonna ask, did you have to like cover up for going to the gym and things like that as well?
The gym was the only place that I ran into any sort of an issue. I got a 2-week pass to a Gold's Gym, and when I went in, I had everything covered because I knew what I was kind of walking into.
Yeah.
But right before I signed the papers, they handed me a piece of paper that was in English, and this is like basically these are the 3 cardinal rules here that are not to be broken. No outside shoes. So like if you wore shoes to the gym, you weren't allowed to wear them on the floor. Like you had to change into like other cleaner shoes. No photos or videos of anyone. Like you're not allowed to take photos and videos while you're out in the gym area for other people's privacy.
That's a good rule. I like
God,
that.
I wish they would. I wish they would do that here in the States, so these dickheads with their tripods wouldn't be setting up and like, yeah, that's a whole other story for another time. But anyway, so like, and then the third one was, it said absolutely no tattoos larger than 15 by 15 centimeters. So I'm like,
wow.
So I looked at her and I said, okay, if covered. And she's like, she walks over, she grabs a ruler. Like she's gonna, like I'm gonna show her like a tattoo and she's gonna measure it to make sure it's okay. So I rolled my sleeve up and she goes, she gets this look on her face like, yeah, I don't think I can let you sign up. And then she goes, what is your job? And I was like, I'm a professional wrestler. She goes, oh, that's okay. So I'm like, all right, sick. And then like, because apparently the gym that I was working out at, like that specific location, apparently a lot of the New Japan guys work out there.
Gotcha.
So I didn't actually like see anybody, but I did notice that they had like this little autograph board in there that was like from Tanahashi.
They don't want any heat with the ace. You might be his friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't want heat with the ace. So. But it was
definitely not.
But the only reason that I even knew that was his autograph, though, was because down in the corner it said "Go Ace." So I was like, okay, that's Tanahashi.
That's tremendous, man. Well, you met a bunch of cool people while you were over there. Tell me a little bit about like the relationship that developed between you and Hartley Jackson and Aussie, who lives in Japan.
Man, Jacko, what a guy, man! Like, so Marquez, before I left, had texted me and said, hey, a buddy of mine is also on the tour. You know, Hartley Jackson, he's an Australian guy. I've known him for years. He's a great guy, and I'm sure he would be very helpful, for you on the tour. So, I took it upon myself to shoot him a message on Instagram and I introduced myself. I'm like, hey man, like Dave told me that you two know each other. I'm going to be on the tour. I just want to introduce myself. And so like first day, we're chopping it up and trading stories. And laughing, and I'm like, all right, I like this guy. So as the tour progressed, we would go out and grab food some nights, or like one night I met him at some bar over in Shibuya just to hang out. And actually I took Will with me. We went after the baseball game we went and met him over.
Shout out to Will. I believe
This
will come out on Will, our guy Weapon X, who is the announcer for Unsanctioned Pro and OWA and various other promotions. I believe it's going to be his birthday when this comes out.
Oh, so happy birthday, Will. I hope your Japan withdrawals are going okay, because I know we've both talked about it, man. Like, coming back sucks. But nah, man, Hartley Jackson was an awesome dude. And I think him and I had pretty good chemistry in our match, and then also our tag match. I think him and I share a very similar philosophy on pro wrestling and how it's supposed to work. And I just think that when you have that same kind of mindset with somebody, it makes things so much easier. So I thoroughly enjoyed tagging with him on that last day of the tour at that Yokohama Buntai building. That place was sweet. There was a huge crowd, and I felt this extra added layer of pressure on that show because it's the last day of the tour. There's I think there was damn near 3,000 people in attendance or something like that. And this, I just had this I don't know. I was like, man, I really feel like I got to bust out a sweet one. And I feel like the match was quite good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And a lot of fans were tweeting afterwards that they would like to see Hartley and I tag in the Real World Tag League at the end of the year for All Japan. So
that would be great.
Office, if you hear this, I'm available.
Yeah, I mean, anything to get back over there, but it would make a lot of sense to get you guys together because, it was clear you had chemistry in your match, and it was almost like a mini story. Like, you guys got respect for each other in the match. He beat you, but you earned his respect, and then you tagged together, and it's like, okay, now we're friends, So, I mean, it like, story-wise, it makes perfect sense. It would be great.
Yeah, and another little just fun little tidbit that I'll slide in about the match that I had with Hartley. We wrestled in Sanjo City, Niigata, which was Giant Baba's hometown. So, and it's also, this is the 25-year anniversary of Baba passing away. So they did a kind of a special little thing for Baba that night. And they had some one night only merchandise available. So to wrestle him on that show was also kind of cool, just from a wrestler's perspective, being able to kind of pay respects to the guy that started the whole company in a way. So that was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, you went to Ribera Steakhouse, right?
Did I? Yeah, dude, that was so there was a guy over there that I'm sure you've all heard of sponsors and how all that shit works out. So there was a gentleman over there who messaged me and said, hey, would you like to go out and get dinner after the show tonight? And I was like, yeah, I would love to. Yes. He asked if there was anywhere specific that I would like to try. And I was like, well, I would like to go to Ribera and try to get a jacket. He's like, okay, fantastic. I'll call ahead and arrange everything. So I'm like, oh, sweet. That was easy. So he actually took me and Hartley to Ribera, and that was cool. Cause as soon as you drive up to the place, the awning on the outside has just pictures of wrestlers. There's a picture of Scott Steiner. I think there was Maria Kanellis and just a lot of really random people on the awning on the outside. And then you go in and all the walls inside are lined with photos of wrestlers inside the restaurant from over the years. There's a really cool picture of Undertaker. There was a picture of Terry Gordy with 3 girls under his arm. There was one of the guy who's the owner, or the guy who, because it's a father-son thing. The father owns the original, and then the son owns the second location. There was a picture of the father with Bruiser Brody and Harley Race. Oh. And I'm just sitting here just looking around. I just think this is the coolest shit on planet Earth. And so we're sitting there, we eat our steaks and all that, and then the gentleman walks over to the table and he hands me this, like, it's like in a nice little plastic, like little sleeve thing. He slides me the jacket.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah, so getting this was really cool. I literally put that behind my chair just to have that moment on the show. But,
I mean, it's a rite of passage, right?
it really
Like,
is.
you know,
Like, 100% is. And that was like, there were a few moments during that tour that to me, like, when you spend a month somewhere, there's going to be some shit that you do that kind of escapes your memory, or doesn't sit at the forefront of your brain forever. But there were a few moments during that tour that will live vividly in my brain for the rest of my life. And that was one of them. Like, just that feeling of like, holy shit, I'm getting that thing that, like, not everybody gets one of these, like, not everyone gets to do what I'm doing right now. And like, that didn't get lost on me the whole time that I was there. Like, I didn't take a single day of it for granted. I didn't, like, every day that I was able to go out and explore and do things, like, I took full advantage of it. Cause like, I felt super fortunate, and I don't really know how else to say it. Cause
that's good.
Like, yeah,
that's good. That's the way you should look at it. I mean,
yeah.
Like we were talking about, just one of the themes we were talking about earlier is, how patient you've had to be. And, you've gone through trials and tribulations. You've had stuff like that go on. But to get that edification in real time, whether it's, debuting at Kurgan Hall, staying there in the ring, before the show in the ceremony with all the other people, or it's getting your first win in All Japan, or getting the Ribera Steakhouse jacket. I mean, you knocked out a bunch of milestones all in one trip, and it's like I'm just so proud of you, man. It's awesome.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, because like, I don't know, man. It's just, if you would have told, the kid version of me that was just a huge WCW fan, and was tuning in and watching all the wild shit that was happening in 90s WCW. If you would have told me that there would come a day where like I would get to do this type of stuff, or like, that one day you're going to do this and someone's going to pay you to go to Japan to do this, like, I would have been mind blown. Like, and I would have never believed you in a million years. So like, the fact that it all actually came to fruition is super cool, man. And like, it's something that I'll always remember and always hold near and dear to my heart. And hopefully that was just the first tour of hopefully many. So,
and he's humble, folks. I mean, it's just what does Lord Crewe not have? He's got.
I'm humble sometimes. I have an egotistical dickhead side too. Comes out every now and then. But I feel like you have to in pro wrestling. If you don't have some level of an ego, then what the fuck are you even doing this for?
I mean, to quote Fife Dog, if I don't say I'm the shit, then tell me who the hell else will,
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to believe in yourself, right?
What do they say at the end of every episode of RuPaul's Drag Race? It's like, if you can't love, or how's somebody else going to love you if you can't love yourself, or something like that.
True.
I mean, there's some truth in that. So
yeah. This is why I'll be single forever.
Well, I love you.
Say that.
I love you, Andy.
You're all good, man. Well, Luke, do you have any questions for Lord Crewe?
For some reason, my wife just messaged me like 3 times on the. Sorry, just blasted my headphones. That's professionalism here, right here for this interview. But yeah, so now I'm wondering, like, what was it like wrestling Matt Hardy and Andrade El Idolo
at AEW? So that was a whole other like level of like weird, like, how do I find myself in these positions type thing. Like, so I'll speak specifically on the Matt Hardy match. Andrade was the first time that I was there, which that to me was like special, because that was the first time I'd ever wrestled in front of that big of a crowd, or in a building that massive, and like, so that was super cool.
That match is really good too. And it's not just Elo that's good in that match. So just saying, it's a squash match, but you get some stuff in, and you look fantastic in it, in my opinion.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. The Matt Hardy match, though, was another one of those things that was like kind of always will be special to me, for like weird reasons. So that match took place at the Heritage Bank Arena in Cincinnati, which is a mile and a half, 2 miles from my house. So that's the building that I saw. You know, I've seen Raw there. I've seen the Cyclones play hockey there. Yeah, I watched the Harlem Globetrotters there. You know, I saw Judas Priest there. So it's like I've seen I've seen so many cool things happen in this building. And then so I went to AEW that day to work, and at first I didn't have anything. Like, they had put matches on the board for who was doing what that day, and I didn't have one. So I was like, oh, man, that kind of sucks. But, you know, there were a couple other guys that were there that day. You know, at this point in time, I'd already had a couple matches for AEW. So Mr. Humble, I was happy. I was happy to see a couple other people getting a chance to, you know, that hadn't previously had matches there. So I was like, oh, that's cool for them. You know, I'm not going to sit here and get all pissy or in my feelings about it. I'm just going to eat catering and get paid. So, you know, it's a win for me either way. But then I was actually sitting ringside with Nasty Russ and T Money, and Matt Hardy came walking out, and I said jokingly to them, I'm like, yo, how sick would it be if they had me wrestle Matt Hardy? And then a little bit of time passed, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee, because you know, I just assumed that I wasn't doing shit. So I'm walking through to go to the catering and get a cup of coffee, and they there's someone standing there writing something on the board, and they look at me and they go, you put an E on the end of Crewe, right? And I'm like, yeah. So they're writing, and I look, it's Lord Crewe versus Matt Hardy. I'm like, what? So then I got my cup of coffee, and I go back out to Rust and Money. I'm like, well, boys, I'm wrestling Matt Hardy. So after that, I mean, he seemed very happy with everything, because there was a little bit of, I don't want to give, fuck it. So our match, Ethan Page was supposed to stand up at the commentary table with a live mic through the whole place. And, you know, he's supposed to talk, because this was at that point of time where they were doing that whole angle where he was using Matt Hardy's moves, and Hardy wasn't allowed to use his own finish or whatever.
Oh, that's great.
So he was and it was it was Ethan Page was Matt Hardy's boss at the time. So he was to stand up, say something into the mic. Matt Hardy, oh, what the hell are you talking? And then boom, I'm supposed to fucking jump and get on him. So we're sitting there kind of circling around, and there's no there was something wrong with the audio. Wow. So he couldn't do the distraction spot. So we just had to you know, figure it out. And we start wrestling around, blah, 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 blah. I take him into the ropes, back up. Then there's now the mic's working. You know what I mean? So rather than me just panicking and being deer in the headlights, you know, I know how to fucking wrestle. I know how to work. So we made something happen. And then, you know, once we got to the back, Matt Hardy was like, hey, man, excellent job listening. He's like, you know, I know things didn't necessarily go correctly. He's like, but you didn't panic. You stayed cool. I really appreciate that. You know, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, he started following me on Twitter and shit. And now every time I see him, he gives me a big hug, and we bullshit. And when I posted the photo of me getting my Ribera jacket, he replied to it and was like, hey, congrats, man. It's always being over there for the first time is always the coolest, or something like that. And I had a couple of my friends sent me the screenshot. They're like, bro, what is your life? What is your life?
Well, so, and you took the twist of fate. Did you?
Yeah.
Did you hit him with the twist of fate too? I was there.
No,
I
didn't hit him with the twist of fate.
It was that you took it. That's right. Because I was at that show, and I knew you had a spot, but I didn't know what it was. So you didn't tell me. You know what I mean? You just were like, hey, wait and see. And like all of a sudden, you're in the ring, fucking Matt Hardy comes out and you're wrestling Matt Hardy. I'm like,
I'm
oh
like,
my God.
bro, so for me,
so fun.
like I said, it was cool enough for me that I was wrestling in the building that I'd already seen all this other really cool stuff at over the years. And then while I'm in the ring waiting, I hear that Hardy's music and I'm like, this is like,
it's real.
Like teenage me is mind blown right now. You know what I mean? Like, no, but that was a really cool thing. And also just the reaction that I got from the fans inside the building was also crazy to me. Cause like somebody sent me a video of it and there was almost like dueling chants for me and Matt Hardy. And I'm like, guys, I'm not cool. Like this is Matt fucking Hardy. Like I'm cheer for him, please.
Hey man, if one of these wrestling companies is in Cincinnati, I wager that, at least a third, maybe a half of the crowd know who you are. So, it's pretty cool to see the hometown folks, on the big shows and stuff like that. It's special for the fans too. So that's
cool. I can see that. Like, cause I always get excited too. Like when when I see my friends doing cool shit, like it's of course you're always stoked when it's you doing it. But like, I also still get pumped when I just see like one of my friends getting to do, something cool or, get involved in something that, I'm a little envious of. But, sometimes the envy just fuels the fire though. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you see people get things and you're like, well, wait, why didn't I get that? All right, fuck you, watch. No, and then the next day I'm in the gym just anger lifting like.
Well, wrestling has a lot of, jealousy and stuff like that. And I think it's important to be supportive like you are of the people around you because there's a lot of people who aren't. And there's a lot of people who, allow that jealousy to kind of take over their life behind the scenes, which is a shame. But, but anyway, well, man, I'm so fired up for you. I can't wait to see what you do next. I'm glad the shoulder's okay, and I'm glad that like, hopefully this is just the first step in your journey in Japan.
I hope so, man. Like I said, I really did enjoy my time over there, like from a wrestling perspective and also just from a cultural perspective. Like I thoroughly enjoy that place. I think the people there are great. The food's delicious. There's a lot of cool shit to do. Like there's never a boring moment there. Like there's plenty of stuff to do. And and this is a beautiful place too. Like I don't think I've ever in my life, and I'm standing in one place, I could see snow-capped mountains and the ocean in the same spot. You know what I mean? So like, I hope I get to go back. Hopefully this, like I said earlier, hopefully this was just the first tour of many. I absolutely loved it over there. The locker room over there is super solid. There's a lot of really good, talented people there that I didn't get a chance to, tango with the first go around. And, there's a lot of people there that I would love to be able to get in the ring with. Like, I'd like to wrestle Ren Ayabe. I would like to wrestle Kento Miyahara.
Of course.
Yeah. So
Ren Ayabe has a special place in our hearts.
Yeah.
We've been following that guy a long time because he was always on these like Tai Chi Mania shows that we covered years ago. And, it's just fun to see him move forward too. And like the fact that you're in the same ring with him, I was looking at the picture like, okay, so who's taller?
He's for sure taller.
We don't
he's
really
for
see
sure
him
taller.
Next to anyone that's like, no one. We don't get to see him next to tall guys. Although I gotta say, the roster of all Japan are a bunch of tall guys.
There was some mountains.
It honestly, I will be real with you. I was kind of surprised with how tall a lot of their roster was. Like both the Saito brothers are over 6 foot. I'd say Kento Miyahara's maybe just like maybe 2 inches shorter than me, and I'm 6'3". So like, they got a lot of big, and I'd say Ren is probably 6'6". He's tall. Like I was surprised how tall he was, but he has such a baby boy face.
He does.
You know what I mean? Like he has such a childish face, but
he's a young guy,
So
it's
he'll grow into it.
He's doing good though, but
he'll get grizzled like the rest of us.
Oh man, grizzled and young. Yeah, we had some kind of run-in by a sound there. But anyway,
Yeah,
well,
I don't think it was.
Luke, do you have any other questions for Lord Crewe?
Yeah, and I'll think of all of them as soon as we're finished.
Well, I know
That's
our
always
show,
how it goes, right?
our show's usually a New Japan show, but like another thing that I didn't tell you, Crew, is that this is kind of our 4th anniversary of doing the Never Open podcast this week. We've been doing it longer than I did the road home, so which is crazy. So and this is actually episode 251. I thought it was going to be episode 250, but it's pretty close. So 250 episodes in, 4 years in. I mean, what a way to celebrate! But to have,
congratulations
like
to both of you for 4 years and 250. It just seems like yesterday that we were riding around in the road home mothership, that white Honda Accord.
Oh man, those were the days.
Driving past the motel where Satan lives.
That's right.
Sounds like a good movie. I want to watch that.
Oh man, back in the day, man, we had a lot of fun on the road, and we had to make fun. So that's kind of what we did. But but anyway, well, Luke, if you don't have any more questions, I think we should wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming on, Lord Crewe. I've wanted to do this for a long time.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
I mean,
It was so cool.
We've only had a few guests on the show, including Robbie Eagles and Gino Gambino and you. So it's like, you're in good company. So
yeah, man. Well, hey, listen, I just want to thank you both for bringing me on and let me relive a little bit of the tour, because I get excited still when I talk about it. I know that some of the people close to me, I am annoying the hell out of them with how much I've talked about it since I've been home. But it's like, no, it legitimately brings me joy to just talk about the experience I had, though, just because of how freaking cool it was, and it was literally my dream come true. So you know what?
They can all fuck off if they don't want to be happy.
On the rooftops.
Exactly. So
so unless anyone has anything else they would like to add,